Hey loves, this is Bobby and I am here with another video. And this is going to be my August wrap-up video. I read a total of 26 books and 2 novellas that went along with one of the books, and holy crap. Yeah, I had a very good month. I did 5 readathons. I did the tropical readathon, the Disneyathon, the Newts, bibliothon, and summerween. So that's why I got all of these books in, and holy crap. But I had a really good month when it came to books, because I have most of my books are 4-star books on here. Like my last wrap up, I am going to be doing this from lowest to highest, but in those actual groups, like all my 3-star books, they're not in any particular order or anything like that. I just kind of grab them, stack them, and there we go. So since this is going to be a pretty long video, let's get started. I don't have any 1-star books. The 2-star books are more 1.5 stars, but I just rounded them up to 2 stars on Goodreads, and I'm just going to stick with that. The first one is Uprooted by Naomi Novak. If you saw my vlog, which I will totally link for that, for this book, I lost my damn mind while reading it to this, because like I said, I have a whole week where I just talked about that stupid book, and then I also got asked to do a kind of review on it, and I really want to do that. I just kind of gotta get my thoughts in order and everything, because it's just screaming, you hated this book, you hated this book. But we follow the story of a girl named Agnieszka, or Neshka. She lives in a town where there is a wizard. He is known as the Dragon. He comes into their village, I believe it's every 10 years, and he takes one girl and takes them to his castle keep, whatever the hell you want to call it, tower, and no one knows what he does with them. They figure that he takes them to his bed and whatever, but when they come back, they don't want to stay in their town anymore. They end up going off to be scholars or school, or they, no one really knows. But Neshka, when it comes for their time, everybody figures it's going to be this one girl, Katja. They believe Katja is the one that's going to be taken because she's the most beautiful, she's the most talented. Everyone just knows she's going to be the one that's going to be taken. While lo and behold, the dragon comes and takes Neshka in turn. I do not like the romance in this book. I hated it. The dragon is awful. He is abusive, both verbally. He calls her ugly, dirty, horse face. He treats her like shit the entire time, to the point where he like makes her use magic so much, and she's so fucking tired that she has to crawl back to her room. He does not feel sorry about this, and that's how he is the entire book. And then all of a sudden it gets pushed into a romance, and I hated it. Like I was not happy. But plot wise, it was okay. My only thing that I enjoyed about this book though was the woods. It is this whole, just basically an entity. This woods is awful. It takes people, it makes them sick, it changes them into like a kind of zombie-ish type of creature. I loved that part, but by the time we really started diving into the woods and, building the plot there, I got to the point where I didn't care anymore, so it just fell so flat for me. For me, all of the characters were super flat. Like, that was a huge thing for me, but plot-wise, everything, I just got so bored with it because I was just not enjoying myself that I couldn't. So, yeah, that was not pretty. Like I said, I gave it the 2-star on there because I enjoyed the parts of the woods so much. Like, I would read just a whole book on the woods, but everything else, it wasn't for me. I was really disappointed in it. The next one that I read is also closer to a 1.5, but I did round up to 2, and that is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabah Tahir. This is a fantasy. I didn't like any of the characters. The main character, I think it's Leia, At first I was rooting for her, but I've noticed that when it comes to characters that are really naive, I am not liking them anymore. I don't know if it's an age thing or just I've been reading it too much, but I don't like it. The biggest thing though with this is like a prime example on why books should come with content warnings on them. Because rape is mentioned every single chapter. I am not even over exaggerating on that fact. Like every chapter rape is mentioned. Someone is being threatened to be raped. They talk about someone who raped someone. They don't go into detail, but it's something that just keeps pushing. Like if that is the only way that you can describe like how bad your society is, then you need to work on your fucking writing. I'm sorry. Yes, I said it. Stop using rape as a plot device to show how evil your world is. Okay, we fucking know. But it just keeps getting mentioned, and it just like, okay, I'm fucking done with this. And then there is a comment that keeps getting made to the main character Leia, that because this also has a lot of body horror in it. Like they talk about disfiguring and torturing people in here, and it keeps being told to the main character that, well, if I was to ruin your face and make you ugly, they won't want to rape you, because we all know only pretty people get raped, right? I found that really just tacky and disgusting, and I was already fed up because like how much they kept pushing the rape. But this takes place, like I was saying, I didn't even get into it, but in a world with slavey and slavey, we have the scholars who are the enslaved, and we have the Martial Empire who are the enslavers. Like I said, it wasn't a bad book, it just wasn't anything unique. I've read this story 100 times. I'm gonna read it 100 more. Nothing about it caught my attention. I hated the romance. We had a love triangle not even a love triangle. I think it turned into a square at the end, but didn't care for it. The male character Elias, his best friend, was awful, and she kept getting pushed on us, and she had a lot of potential to be that really kind of like hard badass type of female character, but they made her so unlikable that I don't care. And I think she's like a main character in the next book, which I already own it, but I'm gonna unhaul it because I can't see myself diving into this world anymore. So yeah, this just Okay, so that is it for the one-ish 2-star books. Like I said, both of those I ended up going with 2 stars, but they were closer to 1.5. Now I'm gonna get into my 3-star books. I have, I think, 4 or 5 of them. The first one I am going to talk about is Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. Full disclosure here, I have a really hard time reading what are they called, short stories, like collections. Because there's some that I love, like in here, like perfect example, the very first one, The Husband Stitch, that is a 5-star story for me. I loved it. It was awful and made me so angry while listening to it, because I did the audiobook for this one, and I had some emotions going into that one, and it was like 5 stars for me. But then there was other stories, like there was one, I can't remember the name of it though, where I felt stupid because I didn't understand it. Like to this moment I still don't get it or the point of it. So like it's really hard for me to rate. I think every single short story collection I've ever read, I've always gone with a 3-star, because it's just, I find a really hard way to balance the ratings on these. But this follows, it's like I said, it's a short story collection, and this is about the type of horrors and stuff that happen to women's bodies through choices of their own, through choices of other people, and it deals really heavy in sexuality and just so much, like everything about the the female body. I really enjoyed that. It has supernatural kind of paranormal elements as well, which was really cool. Like the first one, The Husband Stitch, which I mentioned, which was my favorite, follows the story of the woman with the ribbon around her neck, which is an urban legend, and that one is told like scary stories to tell in the dark, where it has like, okay, make these sound effects, do this, do that. I really just, oh my god, I was just so into it. And then I didn't know the husband stitch was an actual thing, so finding out about that just got me so angry. And as someone who, like, sexuality wise, I fall under, I use the ace term as a complete umbrella because I fall under different levels of ace for myself, and I have never wanted kids. That's not something I've ever, I don't like pregnancy. It gets me really anxious and everything just thinking about it. So for that one, finding out what this husband stitch, that it was a true, real thing that happens to women and still happens to women, I got so angry and disgusted by it. And there is one where it retraces the entire series of Law and Order SVU, and I liked it at first, and then it kind of just kept going, and it got to the point where it's like, okay, I've had enough, like, stop. Which honestly I kind of liked, because it felt like the actual show. Like, that show's been on for like, I think like 20 some seasons now or something like that is what they're at. So I don't know, I found it a little ironic that, you know, something running that long and then that story just kept going. And then some of the parts of it just got really weird where I didn't understand the parts. And then the other one that I had a lot of emotions about, and I talked about in a vlog, was the one that has to do with weight loss surgery. I have had weight loss surgery, so that one hit a lot of very sensitive topics to me. I'll link that vlog if you're interested in that. But like I said, I went with 3 stars just for the fact that I loved some of the stories. I didn't like some of the other stories. Some of the stories I just didn't care for at all. But I recommend this. Like, it was great. And then the way she wove in those paranormal aspects to it were just really good. I definitely want to check out more by her. The next one I read was an arc that I got from NetGalley, and it is I Hope You're Listening by Tom Ryan. Yeah. This is the story of a girl who, when she was younger, her best friend, when she was younger, I think they were like 7 or so, give or take a few years, they were out playing in the woods, and her best friend was kidnapped. They never found her. They don't know what happens. They don't know why she was taken and they left her. It's, you know, it kind of lived with her entire life, and she starts doing this podcast that helps find missing people, brings awareness to cases and stuff like that. While she's in high school, she's doing that. This also has LGBT rep, the main character. It has a sapphic romance. I don't know if she is labeled as being a lesbian or not, but it does have a sapphic romance, and I really enjoyed it. I went with 3 or 3.5 on this one. I did really like it. It was very, I loved Sadie by Courtney Summers. This felt like that. Like, and we follow the story because all of us, I think she's 16 or 17, all of a sudden another girl disappears, and it feels very similar to what happened to her friend. And she's running this podcast, but nobody knows she does it. Only one friend knows. And then a new girl moves into town, and she ends up living across the street from her. Like I said, I really liked it. The romance was the only thing. I liked the romance when it happened. Like, it was really cute. I really enjoyed their relationship. It felt very realistic, but it happened like that. I felt like it could have done a little more build up, but then, like, I understand, like, there was so much going on with the plot, with the whole mystery element and stuff, that I guess time constraint. But yeah, I really liked this one. I recommend checking it out when it's released. I'm not sure the date that it comes out, though. I should have probably looked at. I'll put a little note in here when I'm editing. So yep, there we go. The next one was one that I have had on my shelf for years, and when I was watching a recommendation video, I saw it mentioned and it had me pick it up, and that is The Program by Susan Young. This is like there's a pandemic going around where a bunch of teenagers are starting to kill themselves. They're suicidal, and so to combat this, make the program, which is supposed to help them not be suicidal, and you don't want to get flagged as being, you know, one of the troubled youths, because even if you're not suicidal, but if you like literally don't smile all day long, you'll get thrown in there, and what they do is they wipe your memories. I really liked the premise of this, and I enjoyed most of it. My biggest issue is one of the characters in here, kind of spoilery, kind of not, but one of the characters in here is pushed as being this nice guy. He is not a nice guy, he's a nice guy, and it's very gross type of relationship. I did not like it, and it kept getting pushed, and it kept pushing him like he's supposed to be likable, and he isn't, because Mr. Rapey McRaperson, basically. But yeah, this has a lot of really heavy topics going on in it, but I did. Okay, the next one is the second in a sequel. I was really excited to get to this one, and that is Blood for Blood by Ryan Groden. This is a sequel to Wolf by Wolf. This takes place in a alternate history where the Nazis have actually won, and we follow the main character Yael, who she was experimented on in the concentration camps as a child, and she is now has the power to transform into other people, and I really loved the first one. The first one was 5 stars. This one I went with 3.5, I believe it was. It just felt like the first one was so unique and different, and just kept going, because the first one we follow a motorcycle race, because Yael changes into this girl named Adele Wolf, who is the first woman to have ever won this motorcycle race, and when they win, they get the chance to meet Hitler, and Yael is tasked with killing him. It was awesome. Like, I recommend the first one. Like, it is so good. But this one, it was more of the quest to get where they're going, so it kind of like, it's a pretty big book, and I felt like it could have been about half the size and it would have been a lot better. It just kind of kept dragging on and dragging on, but I did really like it. I gotta say though, the ending was super bittersweet, and there was a part of the ending that pissed me off where I literally was almost through the book because I got so angry about it. But it is a great series. I definitely recommend this series, but like I said, the first book is just it's phenomenal. So okay, now we're going to get into the 4-star books, which there are a lot of them. So let's get going. The first one I'm going to talk about is Genuine Fraud by E. Lockhart. This is the first E. Lockhart book I've read. I have We Were Liars. I've always heard about that book, but I just never got around to reading it. I picked this up on a whim. I had already finished my TBR for August, and I was doing my shelves and stuff, and I needed something to listen to, and I still had a day left, and I didn't want to, you know, cheat and start my September TBR, so I just picked the shortest kind of book that I had on my TBR carts, and this one was it. I really liked this. Like, this was a great book. This follows the story of a girl named, she goes by 2 different names, Jules, and we're told the story in reverse. We start off at the ending, and then we slowly find out why she is where she is, because people keep calling her Imogen, and we don't know why. And then we get introduced to the actual Imogen, and we find out that this girl is a high society, rich girl, and Jules is on the run from something, and we don't know what. And then it just kind of builds up, and then, you know, what happened to Imogen? Why is Jules going by her name? This is great for people that love like superhero type of spies. Like, that's how Jules sees herself, is that like she's this kind of spy type of person. But the story keeps building and building, and it was good. Like, I can recommend this one if you want something just really, you know, fast. It's super fast paced, and twists and turns and all over the place, and interesting characters, and I got invested, and I was like, what is going on? And the whole moving backwards timeline was really well done, because you kind of forget where you're at. Like, okay, what is going on? Wait, so you're told an event that happened, and then we find out what happened to get there, and it's just like, it's cool. Like, it was just a really cool book. Okay, so for the next 4-star book, I've had this one for quite a while. I didn't really know too much about it. I just knew it was fairy tale retelling. And that is Girls Made of Snow and Glass by Melissa Bashardost. This is a Snow White retelling, but I've been reading a lot of Snow White retellings. I don't know why. I just keep picking them up and I don't even know that they are Snow White retellings right away. But yeah, they keep happening. But I really did enjoy this one. This is LGBT plus. We have a sapphic romance, which I loved the romance in this one. What really stood out about this one for me is that they split up certain characters, like then the relationship that builds between the evil queen, the stepmother, and the Snow White character. I just really liked it. Like, this is kind of like that almost found family feel to it, but I really liked it because there was a lot of twists and turns. And this was just a really good retelling. It was simple but really fun. I enjoyed it. I recommend it. The characters are great. The world building's really cool. And the way Melissa Bashardost twisted it around a lot was really, like, I just really enjoyed this one. I don't know really what else to say, but it's your standard retelling, but it was just a lot of fun. It was a very different take on Snow White. The next 4-star, I did not know what this one was about when I bought it. This was a cover buy, and I think that was the prompt for this one, was a book that you read, a book that you bought because of the cover. I didn't know what it was about or anything. I didn't even know that this was LGBT. We have another sapphic romance. I got a lot of LGBT books in unbeknownst to me, and I was very happy about that. I didn't know that this one was also centered around the characters who are all Latinx. I was freaking ecstatic when I found that out, because as a Latinx myself, I've been trying to find more fantasy books and that feature characters like that, because I can connect with them, and it makes me happy. And I just got the rest of the series for Labyrinth Lost by Zoraida Cordova, and I can't wait to get into those. I'm gonna try and read the two second books in one of the readathons that I'm doing. One of the readathons that I am doing this month. So, but that is We Set the Dark on Fire by Taylor K. Mahia. I love this one. Like, I said, I didn't know what it was about, and then when I did find out kind of what it was about when I picked it up to read it, I was a little, I don't know, it's not lazy, kind of I don't know, but I really enjoyed it. This is like a YA kind of Handmaid's Tale. Like, if you go in like that, you won't be disappointed, because it follows like that kind of like a storyline almost. This takes place in a world where it's like a dystopian type of world, and the characters, especially the two main female characters, they attend a school that teach women how to be one of two type of women for this world. The upper class, they each get 2 wives. Every man gets 2 wives, because that is where their the mythos that is found in this book, with the world building is built around, is that and they are trained to either be like the head of the household, who is the strict, no nonsense type of wife, and then the second wife is the more alluring, they're there to have kids type of thing. I loved the 2 female, the ones that end up as the wives for the man. They have their enemies. This is a kind of enemies to lover one. Like, they hate each other, but it's that really good kind of hate, and the more you learn about it, I was rooting for them. And the husband is a sack of shit. Like, he is horrible, but he's that very, I hate you, I like to hate you. Like, you want something bad to happen to him type of thing. Unlike other characters who, in other books that I've read, where I hated them, but they weren't interesting. Like, he was like, you hate him and you want something bad to happen, and you're kind of rooting for that, so you kept going to get to the next book. The next one I read was also a LGBT with a sapphic romance, and that was Crier's War by Nina Varela. I have heard so much about this one, and I went in with kind of high hopes. I did, and for a little while there I was a little disappointed because it was going a little slow and I didn't really know how I was feeling about the main character Crier, because this is a dual perspective. But by the end, ho, I loved it. I loved the romance in it because it is that slow burn enemies to lover, which I dig that. It was done very well. I do not have the physical copy. I want to get it for myself, and I want to buy the second book, which I think when I post this it might have just came out, so I need them because I need to find out what's going to happen. This takes place in a fantasy world. Well, it's fantasy sci-fi because we have an artificial intelligence. Crier is a AI type of I don't know, android, cyborg type of thing. Like, they are made, and they are the dominating class. Humans are seen as less than. And then the other main character, who I am blanking on her damn name, Ayla. Her name is Ayla, I believe. She is like a servant in this, but she is working with a kind of rebellion group that is trying to fight, you know, for equality and stuff. And I really liked that. There's a lot of twists and turns going in, and I like at the romance at first between Crier and Alea, I wasn't sure how I was feeling about it, but when it started to like pick up, oh, I love slow burn enemies to lover. Like, that is my jam, and it's done really well in this book, and I cannot wait to get to the next one. Okay, this next one was originally a DNF for me. I tried to read it about a year ago, I want to say. Could not get into it, and I was really wanted to because it sounds like something I would enjoy, but I just couldn't. I was gonna, unhaul it, but then one of the prompts was to read a book that you have previously DNF'd. So I gave it a second chance, and as you can tell, since it's in this 4-star pile, I ended up very much liking it, and that is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. This was such a wild ride. This is like Clue meets Groundhog's Day, and it's all over the place. This follows the story of a guy who he wakes up at this party and he's in a body. He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know what's going on. And he slowly learns that he is tasked with finding out who kills Evelyn Hardcastle, because every night at 11 o'clock she dies. And every night at 11 o'clock he ends up switching into a different body. There are different stipulations though for it, which I really like, but when I do find that they do give character stipulations, it just makes it so much more fun, and it gets you more like on the edge of your seat, like, okay, how are they gonna get past this? How are they gonna get past this? Because he has to get creative. The main character's name is Aiden, but he doesn't even find that out right away because he doesn't know who he is. And the thing I really loved is that when he gets into the new body, he doesn't know who he's in. He doesn't know what their deal is. He has no memories. There are things that change the longer that the story goes on, which I really liked. Got 5 stars from me, but some parts got a little long-winded, especially at the end. I did guess part of the ending, but there was also an extra twist to it that it did not need. Like, the final big reveal, if you've read this book, I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. It did not need to be a part of it. Like, if this would have stuck with the same, like, just where it was taking place, like, I didn't even need, like, it explained on how he was jumping. Like, yeah, I just really love this. I am going to be keeping it. I'm not going to be unhauling it anymore because I want to do another read through with it, and I want to mark all of the different parts that kind of lead up to everything, because I think I got a lot of them, but with all how many times he changes bodies, it does get a little confusing. But I fully recommend this one, especially as the audiobook, because like I said, I couldn't get into it reading it physically. This next one was one that I had started really quick as well, and I DNF'd it, but it wasn't a DNF of like I'm done with it. It was a I need to come back because I'm not feeling it. And again, another 4-star. I'm very glad I came back to it. It was weird, but it was cool weird. and that is Saw Curl Girls by Claire Legrand. This is a horror all over the place, what the fuck is going on type of, but by the end I was like, I'm digging this. This is another LGBT plus. This has sapphic romance. We have an ace character. The ace character Zoe I absolutely adored, and I really ended up liking the romance, even though at first I was kind of like, I don't know about this, but I did really like it. This has great characters in it. It took a twist though that I didn't see coming, and at first I was a little but then at the end I was like yeah, I do a lot of noises. I feel like that's the only way to get my thoughts across. But this takes place on an island known as Sawkill, where girls have been going missing for years. Nobody thinks about it, nobody mentions it. People still live there, they live their lives. If a girl goes missing, they kind of look for them and then give up on it. And we follow three girls. Zoe, who is one where her best friend is one of the missing girls, and she's trying to figure out what happened to her because her dad is the like chief of police, and she's kind of like searching through his stuff because she doesn't think he's telling her all, telling her the truth on what happened. And then we have Val, who is like the queen bee of the island. Like, she's the no nonsense type of bitch that I can ruin your life if I want to. Val was the one I had a very complicated feelings about. Like, I kind of didn't like her at first, but the more the story built up, I ended up really enjoying her. And then we have Marion, who is the new girl in town. She has just moved to the island, and she kind of gets thrown into all of this craziness as soon as she basically sets foot there. Marion was the one where I really liked her at first, and then near the middle I was like, I'm done with her, because there were comments made and I was like, you know what, I don't like you no more. But by the end I really did enjoy her. But this has a lot of horror in it. It's really creepy the way it's written, but all in all, this is one of those books that has very polarizing like reviews on it. You either love it or hate it, and I can definitely see why this is not for everybody, because it's very, like I said, it's one of those just weird books. The end, like the big reveal though, was kind of a little, that's where we went? Okay, I can see that. I like it. It took a little bit for me to kind of like accept it, but I did love it, and I really, really enjoyed the ending. So yes, I'm very glad I gave it a second chance. The next one is part of a series. This is the third book, and I am very glad that I'm making my way through the series because I am really, really enjoying it so far, even though I seem to be I think the only one that is enjoying it with this kind of group read or doing it, and that is The Wastelands by Stephen King. This is the third book in the Dark Tower series. This follows, it's kind of hard to talk about this because I don't want to spoil anything, but this follows a man named Roland who is the last gunslinger. This takes place in a world where his world is like a mashup of ours, but like a Western type of fantasy world as well. Like, it's all over the place, and they have things that we have. Like, we're not sure if it's part of the past or did some stuff make its way over there. It's very odd, and I really like that. Like, I love what the hell am I reading type of books, and this is definitely that. I love the characters. We have Susanna, who is she is a black woman. She brought over into Roland's world, and she is freaking badass. She's a double amputee, and Roland is teaching her how to be a gunslinger, and she is fucking cool. I love Susanna so goddamn much. She is like one of my favorite characters that Stephen King's ever written. Like, I just think she's fucking badass, especially in this one. We have Eddie, who is a ex-drug addict that got dragged here as well. Him and Susanna are falling in love. I really love their relationship. I've seen some people don't like their relationship, but I like it. Like, he looks to her for a lot of answers and she looks to him. Like, there's a really good balance between them, I think. And then we end up with another character who was in the first book, but I don't want to say because, like I said, spoilers. But I am really enjoying this series. I'm reading the next book in September. I can't wait to get it. It's a chunky boy, so because this whole series is pretty big, but yeah, I am so glad I'm finally just making my way through this. The next one, I loved this book. I ended up just absolutely adoring it, and I am still in the 4 stars, and that is The Past and Other Things That Should Stay Buried by Sean David Hutchinson. I love this one. This is another LGBT book. This features a male-male romance. We have one of the characters is a trans boy, and I loved it. This is a very eye-opening look on the type of friendships that we can have, and that not all friendships are the same, as well as the fact that when we get comfortable in some friendships, we tend to block out other people who we have a lot in common with. We follow a main character named Dino. He works in his family's mortuary. He is like a whiz at doing makeup and stuff, but he doesn't want to do that for a living. Like, his parents want him to take over, and he really doesn't want anything to do with it. He wants to figure out, you know, his life for himself, but he's not great at talking about that. His ex-best friend, who they had been best friends for most of their life, has passed away. Her name is July, and she died, I believe it's from an aneurysm. So it was really just happened. They weren't friends anymore. They didn't get closer with each other. So when her body is brought into the mortuary, he decides to take it upon himself to do her makeup. As soon as he touches her and starts doing her makeup, she wakes up. She's already been embalmed. So yeah, that whole scene is very funny. The thing with July and Dino is that when they're together, they're not great people. They're both kind of assholes. And I really liked the way Sean David Hutchinson wrote about being queer and having friends who are straight, and some of the jokes and things that they say that they think they can get away with because, you know, my friend's gay. So I really like the way it's handled, because Dino ends up calling out July about a lot of this shit. Like, dude, it's shitty that you're saying it. You don't get to make those jokes. You are not gay. And then we get the whole, well, you're gay, but you're not this type of gay, so you shouldn't be able to say it. But it's just like the way it's handled, I really like it. Like I said, I really enjoyed the friendship and the way it, you know, it looks at friendship and everything. But this is a great book. I recommend it. It was a lot of fun to read. It was a really quick read. I can definitely see myself rereading this one. So this next one is a total shock to me. It was nothing of what I was expecting. It was nothing like I thought it was going to be about. That is The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg. This is a kind of fairy tale retelling in a way, but at its heart, it's basically what would have happened if Disneyland decided to also open a park that is Disneyland meets Westworld. It's very messed up. Like, yeah, it was crazy. And then we have a murder case investigation going on. It's told in different formats. We have interview formats, because the main character, she is actually an like android type of being. She is a princess. She is one of many different princesses for this amusement park known as the Kingdom. It's like the futuristic type of Disneyland type of setting, and she eventually starts falling for this human boy, taken back and forth between the court, which is like the present day, and the what led up to the murder in the past, and it's kind of all over the place. And the other androids, including her, they have gaps in their memory, but they don't even know they're missing because they're just taken from them. I really liked that. And then I really just liked this one. It was a fun book. This one was like genuine fraud, where it was nothing like I expected. It was all over the place, but just a really kind of just cool book. And the way that Jess Rothenberg intertwined different fairy tales and stuff into this was just, it'll just get little, because it's not a straight retelling. Like, you don't have any one fairy tale we're following along, since they are fairy princesses. So some of the same, just like a paragraph in there will be made and, you know, mentioned, and you can like, oh, that has to do with this. Oh, like I really liked it. It took a turn I didn't see coming, which for me not to see something coming is like really rare, but I loved this one. I would definitely do a reread. I am definitely going to be looking out for more by Jess Rothenberg, but yeah, I full on recommend this damn book. Okay, the next book I read was a total random. I put it on originally though because I thought it was a nonfiction, because I got it confused with another book and it was a nonfiction, but I didn't know how I was going to feel about this because it's very different from what I read, and that is Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. This follows the story of a young black boy who comes in. This is an LGBT book, and him kind of just coming into himself and entering the kind of drag world, and this is told in verse. I have never read anything in verse. I don't enjoy poetry or anything, so I was very skeptical going into this just for the fact that it's not a format that I enjoy. But I did the audiobook, which I do recommend that. I did really do enjoy it because it's a coming of age and a accepting who you are sexuality wise. It was just really wonderful, and you could totally hear yelling, I think, in the background. It's my neighbors, but it's too hot to close my window because it's like, I think 8 o'clock at night and we're like 94 degrees. So yeah, you're gonna get some background noise. Sorry about that. But I really did enjoy Black Flamingo. It was very different, like I said. It wasn't something I was sure if I was gonna like just for the way that it was written, because it's just not my type of thing. But I did enjoy it, and I thought it was a really great story. I recommend it fully, but I think I'm like one of the last people to definitely read it because everybody was talking about it when it first came out. The next book I read, I had bought it not that long ago. It was a comic book, and I was looking forward to it, and you know what? It didn't disappoint. I got exactly what I wanted for it, and that is Nailbiter by Joshua Williamson and Mike Henderson. This follows the story of, there is this town in Oregon where a ton of different serial killers have all come from. Nobody knows why serial killers come from there. It's like, is it cursed? Is it genetics? Is there something in the freaking water? Nobody knows, but there's a bunch of them that come. One of the most renowned one though is the Nailbiter. He becomes extra famous because even though he is literally found in a room full of bodies, literally with a hand in his mouth eating it, he gets off from the murders. There was this detective that has went in there, and he is supposed to be he's looking into why the hell these serial killers are all coming out of this place. And he goes missing, and he had gotten contact with a friend of his who is either FBI or NSA. And he goes there to try and find him, and all of a sudden murders are happening, but they are taking place, or they are made to look like copycats of other past murderers. This was just a wild ride. I don't have the second volume, and I'm really mad about that because I want to know what the hell happened. This was a total random cover buy. It sounded super gross. I love absolutely anything to do with cannibalism. This had that in there. It had a ton of freaking Silence of the Lamb jokes, which that made me very happy. But I recommend this if you're just looking for something gross and gory and super quick read. Like I said, I can't say for the rest of the series. I've only read the first one, but I definitely want to get my hands on it. Okay, this next one is a super quick short story. It is a gothic horror with creepy little extra monsters going on in it. I loved it though. I didn't even know really what this was about, but holy crap, it took me for a ride. And for this book being like, how many pages? I think it's like less than 159 pages. It packs a frickin' punch. And that is The Monster of Eldenhaven by Jennifer Geisbrecht. This takes place in a town called Eldenhaven, which is set in a kind of Arctic almost climate. Like, we don't have like a clear where exactly this is supposed to be, but the water is black. It snows pretty much all the time. It's dark almost all the time. Oozy goo thing climbs out of the water, gets kicked and stuff, and eventually starts growing into this man who becomes sentient, and he ends up naming himself Johann, and he likes to murder people. He eventually starts stalking. He finds this other man named Florian. He's interested in him, and he notices some odd things about him. Comes out to find out that he is actually a sorcerer, which they are frowned upon, killed type of witch hunted type of thing. But the back and forth, this ends up being an LGBT book. The main characters, Johann and Florian, we get a male kind of romance because they're both assholes and they're awful to each other, and we get this very dominant kind of slave master almost thing, but not quite, because Florian, since he is the what you call it, sorcerer and the rich, aristocrat, and since Johann is the kind of street urchin type of thing, but they both back and forth, the banter, the flirting, the just everything. I loved it. Like I said, this book packs a punch for being just over 150 pages. Alden Haven is just, the way it's described and everything is just like, you feel like you're there. There are a lot of characters introduced, but you feel like you know all of them. They each get their own little part. There is some great characters. The magic is really cool. It's not truly explained all the way, but you do get to learn it. We've got like a science, like mad scientist type of element going on. Like, there's a lot in this book, but it is super short, and I don't know, like, I felt like if it was just a little longer, I probably would have went with the 5 stars, because I felt like we could have just got just a little more of just everything. But it was a freaking amazing. I adored this book. The next 4-star book is The Troop by Nick Cutter. I have heard this book mentioned quite a few times, and everyone that reads it says it's fucking disgusting. This was one of the few times I kind of looked up reviews on it, because I just wanted to, I was curious on it before I even decided to actually pick it up and read it, which is super rare for me to look up reviews. But it had a lot of low reviews, and it's just people saying that, oh, it's so disgusting, it's so gross, I couldn't finish it, this book is just awful. If a book is that disgusting, I want to read it. I will give you 5. If you're so disgusting that I cannot finish you, that's 5 stars from me. I'm fucked up. I know. Don't care. But holy crap, this book was just what I wanted. It was disgusting. It was vile. It was horrible. I was listening to the audiobook while following along with the ebook. I want this book for my shelf because I loved it that much. But there was a scene near the beginning where I had to stop it, and I had to throw my Kindle off to the side because I almost threw up. I will not lie. I almost threw up because it was so fucking disgusting the way the whole thing, I just visualized it, and these people are just screaming away in this background. Yeah, I was disgusted while hearing that part. Like, I was just, oh god, what? And it just got worse, and it was vile, and it was so awesome. I loved it. If you are squeamish, this has body horror abuse that is mentioned in there. This has kids being disgusting kids. I totally didn't even talk about what this book was about because I was just excited to talk about how disgusting it was. This follows a group of boys that are like a Boy Scout type of group. They are going on their annual wilderness trip to an island so that they can earn like their last badges or whatever. And when they get there, they get stumbled upon by this man who is just ravenous. He just wants to eat, and that ends up spreading. This is a lot like The Thing meets Lord of the Flies, and I hated Lord of the Flies, but everything I hated about Lord of the Flies, I ended up getting in this book so I would love it. Like, it was just so good. So freaking good. It was horrible. Like I said though, if you are squeamish, you do not like body horror, you don't like straight up just disgusting gross things, do not read this book. Like, I do not recommend this book for the faint of heart or those that get grossed out. This would have easily got 5 stars for me, but there were some parts where it just got really long-winded and it could have been cut down just a little bit. It's a great book. Like, I definitely could see myself rereading this one when I just want something fucking horribly gross, and that happens quite a bit. So yeah, I loved it. Okay, this next one is the last book in a series that I started the month before, back in July, and I was so excited to get to this one because I loved the first two books. This one fell just a little short for me, and that is Only Human by Sylvain Neuvel. This is book 3 of the Themis Files. This is like Pacific Rim type of book. Like, we've got like the big giant mecha aliens. I can't talk too much about this one because I don't want to spoil anything, because it's very easy to spoil stuff in this. But this follows the story of a girl who falls down a hole and ends up waking up cradled in this giant hand, of a metal hand. Nobody knows where it came from, what it is, or anything. Fast forward to the future. She is now studying this hand and trying to figure out, is there more? Because if there's a hand, there sure in the hell has to be more to it, and oh man, is there more. This is told in interview format. This is an amazing audiobook. I absolutely loved the audiobook. Really liked this one. Like I said, it wasn't exactly what I wanted. It fell a little flat compared to the other two books, especially the first one. Book 1, Sleeping Giants, is phenomenal. Like, I recommend that to anybody. This is a really great series that starts to, if you really want to get into sci-fi but you don't really know where to start, I recommend this series. It's not there, the books aren't very big, and if you characters are all really great, especially the main bunch of characters. I love every single one of them in their own way. I also read the novellas that came along with this one. The novella that takes place after this book, holy crap, 5 stars alone for that one, because it blew me away. It gave me exactly what I wanted, and I literally like fangirl screamed from it because I loved it, and it gave me, I didn't think I was gonna get what I wanted, but I got what I wanted from it. And I would love for Sylvain Neuvel to dive back into this world. I loved it. This would make an absolutely awesome TV series or movie, preferably TV series. I like it a lot, so there we go. Okay, this is going to be the last of my 4-star books, and I'm leaving it on a high note because this was the book that I had been reading since the beginning of the month. It was going to be the first book that I read, but I just kept putting it off and putting it off, and then I found out about Summerween, and it fit one of the prompts, and it was the team book for Team Horror, was it Horror Mystery Thriller, for Tropical, and I just kept putting it off, and you know what? It wrapped up my month so well because, oh, thank you. That is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Gothic horror story that takes place in Mexico, which, thank you. But this follows the story of a girl who gets a letter from her cousin who has just married this, I think they're supposed to be British. No one in the family really trusted him. They didn't really know anything about him. And when they get the letter from her cousin, it doesn't make sense. She sounds like she's losing her mind. She's saying that there are ghosts, that her husband's trying to kill her, and all of this stuff is happening. So the main character, Noemi, goes there her father has her go there just to kind of see what's happening, because her family comes from like the upper class and they don't want a scandal, so that has to do with divorce or, you know, anything else that can kind of happen. So they send Noemi there to, you know, okay, maybe she's just sick, or if she does need psychiatric help, we can get it for her. The husband though wants nothing to do with that, so they send her, and you know, just to kind of go and, okay, is she okay or not? When she gets there, right away you can tell something's freaking wrong. Very Get Out feelings to it, like you know, these white people are crazy, and let me tell you, these white people were crazy. I loved the whole, though, just everything where it kept building up, and it was just, the big twist about it at the end was great. Like, this stuck with being a gothic horror. I have been reading quite a few lately, you know, and some of them, they try and be clever about it, or they change something about it, and it just doesn't, it ruins it for me. Just give me, I want a horror, you know, gothic horror. I love the setting of gothic horrors. Like, that's the one thing that never disappoints me, is the setting. But when it comes to them trying to do the twists and turns of like the mystery element to it, it usually kind of sucks. But I enjoyed it. The only reason I could not give this 5 stars is there was some parts of it where it kind of dragged on, and it was like, okay, let's move along. It was just a little bit of pacing. If the pacing was just a little better, it would have been 5 stars easy, but this is like 4.5 for me because I enjoyed just all of it. Looking for a cool kind of haunted house gothic horror story to read, especially in October, which is when everybody goes crazy for them. 100% recommend this. Get it, love it, it was awesome. Okay, so we are into the 5-star books. The first one was Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. Oh my goodness, you'd have to be living under a rock not to know about this book, and probably not to have read it, because I was living under a rock. I had heard it mentioned, I just never got around to getting it. This is an LGBT plus book. This follows 2 boys who become friends and slowly start falling in love with each other. It's super cute. It's adorable. It was everything I wanted from it. Like, I was not disappointed by any part of it. Like, it had the slow burn. They were adorable. Both characters are super likable. Like, I'm hooked. I need the seconds. I need it because it's adorable. And if you haven't read this, yes, it does live up to the hype. I have no idea how many more books I'm going to be able to stack up on that because it's going to start falling soon. But we're almost done here. The next one was the most anticipated book on my TBR, and it did not disappoint at all. And that is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. I loved every page of this book. This is just amazing. This has one of my favorite magic systems ever, and I mean ever. It is metal based. The people, this takes place in a world where the evil lord has won. He is ruling, and everyone is just kind of living their life like that. It is horrible, but hey, that's the lot you got. And we have a group of people who are the enslaved. Some of the people in there, though, they are able to ingest metals, and when they do, they get powers. Most people, though, can only ingest, and not even most, it's a very few that can actually ingest the metals. But from those, most of them only can ingest one and get powers. But there are those that are known as the Mistborn, who can ingest multiple metals and get different powers. That is where we meet our main characters. This is like a kind of heist almost, and I love anything to do with kind of like a heist type of thing, or like con artists and stuff like that. That's like one of my absolute favorite tropes, and this is done so well. This also, I adored everything. I mean, there was not a single part of this that I didn't like. Like, for a book that's this long, it didn't feel long-winded. It started off action-packed, it ended action-packed, it devastated me, it made me laugh. I won't say it made me cry because it didn't make me cry because I very rarely cry, but I could have cried. Like, it could have happened, and I wouldn't have been surprised because I had every emotion while freaking reading this. Brandon Sanderson knows how to leave you on the best endings. They're not quite cliffhangers, they're kind of, but not really, but his endings just punch you in the face and you say thank you after. I feel like that sums him up perfectly. But yeah, I cannot wait for the rest of the series because, like, oh, it's so good. Okay, the next are the last 3. I'm going to kind of talk about them together. The Wayward Children story series by Shannon McGuire. I was so excited for this series. I had been dying to get my hands on it and read it, and then I was gifted Every Heart a Doorway, which is book 1. It was everything I wanted. This takes place at a school that takes in kids who have crossed over into these other fantasy worlds, Wonderland, Narnia, you know, places like that. And they have been either sent back, kicked out from these fantasy worlds, and all they want to do is go home. Their time will come again where they get to go home to these places. Yes, they were born where our world, you know, in our world, but this isn't their home. Their home are these fantasy worlds, and them trying to adjust. But like I said, the first one is us learning about the school, and there is a girl that she had just gotten there. She comes from the halls of the dead, and we're following her story there. We also have like a mystery murder going on, and these are small books. Like, Shauna McGuire just has such a way of writing where these tiny books feel like they're like 500 pages because you get so much out of them. And not that they're long-winded or anything, it's just she packs so much into these little books that it feels like you've had an entire world. But I loved all the characters in this. My favorite was, I loved Jack and I love Cade. They are two of my favorite. These books are LGBT, they are inclusive, they are just wonderful. The second book is Down Among These Sticks and Bones. We find out more of the story of Jack and Jill and how where they came from, which is the Moors, which is a think classic horror movie type of settings. I loved it. This is the book that I noticed a lot of people don't seem to like, but this one was probably my favorite because I absolutely adored Jack. I loved this one. Like, it gave me everything I wanted and I didn't know I needed. It was amazing. Third one, and like I said, all of these were 5-star, is Beneath the Sugar Sky. We follow a character, we go to the world of one of the other characters, Sumi, and she comes from a kind of candy wonderland type of world, and I loved it. It was beautiful, and just, we get to visit other worlds as well. Like, it's hard to talk about these because I don't want to spoil anything, and since they are so small, it is very easy to spoil. But there are just so many awesome moments in these. I love the found family, but also the kind of coming into your own, as well as what is home, like what makes a home, and just because you're born somewhere doesn't mean that's home. And I love it. I adore this series with all of my heart. Alrighty, that wraps up my August TBR. I read a lot of books, and I had, like I said, most of these were 4 stars, so I am not mad about it, because hell yeah, I got some great books. I have some new absolute favorites. Yeah, so there we go. If you have read any of these, I would love to know your thoughts about them. If you're interested in any of these, I'd love to talk about them. There we go. Let's wrap this up because it's already way too long, but that's what's what. I am, as always, Bobby, and thank you for watching. If you liked what you saw, thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Happy reading.